Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning for the show. If you're watching us live, thanks for that. We do appreciate it. If you are listening to this or watching it later, appreciate that as well. Of course, it stays on our Facebook page in perpetuity. We also put it on our YouTube and on our website. There are audio versions as well. Hope you're doing well this morning. Please remember we upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. Rough day with traffic today. 2 accidents on I-12, one at Jubin Road, one just before O'Neill Lane on I-12 heading westbound. So you've got delays backed up from Airline almost intermittently, but heavy delays all the way back to Jubin Road. So keep that in mind this morning. Still looking pretty clear on on 190 heading into Baton Rouge at 4-H Club Road and River Road. Normal delays in and around the larger high schools in the area, as well as some minor delays on 64 heading into Central, with some heavy delays on Greenville Springs if you take a left there off of 64. 44 degrees is your current temperature. 64 degrees your high today. So going to be a nice day. Going to get into those mid 60s. You're looking at 37 overnight though. So we're not going to stay into those 40s overnight. Going to get cold. Going to get into the 30s. Keep that in mind. Mr. Woody Overton and his partner in crime, quote unquote, with the Real Life, Real Crime podcast. They've been doing a lot of live shows. I believe tonight is their last one at Southeastern at Livingston over there in Walker. They will be joining us for a podcast. We're going to dive deep on both of them. You know, we're going to talk about them, what they've done, how they got into it, what it's like doing the show, that kind of thing. So instead of talking about their subject matter, we're going to talk about them, learn a little bit about them. That'll be at 10 o'clock. We're going to hopefully get that podcast up for you just after lunch, so you can take a listen, learn a little bit about them before you head over to Southeastern tonight, or Southeastern at Livingston. Please go to Walker, don't go to Hammond, for that show this evening. A bus driver in the French Settlement area has resigned. This has been a lot of controversy online about this. According to the district office, or the central office, the bus driver left a child on the bus while they walked inside of the office to make a report. According to district guidelines, should have brought the child back over to the elementary school and dropped them off or brought them into the office. According to Superintendent Joe Murphy, the central office had been discussing repercussions when the bus driver decided to submit her resignation. There will be a substitute bus in the area for that route until they can find a permanent solution. Want to remind folks that is a release that we received from the school board. So that is that's their version of the story. Excuse me. Last night, the parish council met. An interesting meeting. New year, new council. This is the first meeting of the council with the new members from District 6 as well as District 8. District 6 would be Gerald McMorris. District 8 would be Randy Delatt. Mr. Randy Delatt kind of came out with a fire. He was trying to talk to folks about Robert's Rules of Order, trying to change up some of the things that the council had planned. Of course, when they were trying to elect a chair, unfortunately, only 8 members were present. Shane Mack was absent for a work trip. So you ended up with a tie for chair and a tie for co-chair, as Mr. Randy Delatt wanted to correct everyone. It is a vice chair. Again, so the vote was actually split kind of north-south, which was very interesting. With a tie, no one was elected. They chose to go a different route and elect a temporary chair for the meeting, which happened to be Jeff Ard. He was elected unanimously. The votes broke down as for the chair, Gary Talbert was nominated, and Talbert voted for himself, as well as Girlinghouse, Jeff Ard, and and Scooter Keene. On the other side, they nominated John Wascom, and John Wascom voted for himself, as well as Bubba Harris, Gerald McMorris, and Randy Delatt. So that tie ended in a no-go. We'll have to wait and see what Mr. Shane Mack will do. For vice chair or co-chair, Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse was nominated. Randy Delatt nominated himself. Voting for Girlinghouse were those same 4. Girlinghouse voted for himself. Ard voted for him. Scooter Keene voted for him, and Talbert voted for him. For Delatt, it was Bubba Harris, Gerald McMorris, Delatt, and John Wascom. So again, a tie that resulted in nothing. It was a unanimous 8-0 approval for Jeff Ard to be a temporary chair for the week. So that's kind of how that meeting started. It took about 25-30 minutes to sort through that. The council went through a lot of different issues. One thing that they are introducing is moving the meeting time up to 6, which would move some of those or committee meetings up. More than likely, a lot of times they start at 5. They might start at 4:30, something like that. So they're going to be voting on that. That was just an introduction. It has to be passed by ordinance, so there's a chance those meetings could start at 6 instead of 6:30. They also discussed a apartment building that had been approved just after the flood. According to the developer, a man by the name of Delahaye, it is for senior citizens. However, the interesting circumstances surrounding this is that the building, or the series of buildings, an apartment complex for the elderly, mostly trying to make it affordable for the elderly by foregoing property taxes. Now, the interesting part about this is the parish council actually couldn't do anything about it. The Capital Area Finance Authority has the final say. They are run through the East Baton Rouge Parish government. So technically, the East Baton Rouge Parish government could tell these folks, we're going to finance it. We're going to forgive your taxes, property taxes that you would pay to the parish, which was the amount of $75,000 a year. And, Mr. Gary Frog Talbert put forth a resolution for the EBR council to vote this project down because he believed, and actually after a bit of consternation at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Randy DeLatte agreed that the parish council should have that choice, that East Baton Rouge should not be allowed to forgive taxes for people in different districts. And that doesn't affect the Capital Area Finance Authority because they will actually collect administrative fees on these different projects. So East Baton Rouge Parish is still going to get paid. Livingston Parish wouldn't. It was unanimous approval to, it was not unanimous because Mr. Bubba Harris voted no. He believed in the project. It wasn't his district. And again, the project is approved. If East Baton Rouge Parish Council approves it, it might move forward without it mattering. But Mr. Gary Frog Talbert said, if we don't send a resolution, that just means we're going to accept somebody approving a project in our parish and forgiving their taxes. So that was an interesting sort of discussion. That resolution will be sent to the East Baton Rouge Parish Council. Trey Welch, who is on the East Baton Rouge Parish Council, called Talbert and said, what do y'all want to do with this? So they discussed it last night. That resolution will be sent. Also, during the economic development meeting for Jubin Crossing, Hobby Lobby was asking for some forgiveness on property taxes. Still waiting for a couple of answers on that because it has something to do with collections versus the mortgage and looking for some clarifying language on that. But that did come up. Hobby Lobby is slowly but steadily growing, as you can see, and they'll be moving towards according to the Livingston Parish Chamber of Commerce, a grand opening sometime in February. I believe 14th was the date that was thrown out there. Other than that, there was just a lot of board appointments last night, but those were sort of the points of contention. Again, no chair has been selected. There will be another vote at the February 6th meeting. Please remember that the parish council was moved up. The meetings were moved up in February because of the police jury association meetings. Now, they encompass parish councils as well. So it's police juries and councils. They all come together, talk about how to run government, that sort of thing. Just down the road, the school board met, and the big news of the day was Mr. Cecil Harris was approved to replace Mr. Buddy Mincy Jr., who has moved on to be a state representative. He won that election in the fall. Mr. Harris is a graduate of Denham Springs High School as well as Southeastern, and he's excited. You can read about the little interview that David Gray did with him just after that meeting at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. Albany's Caleb Puma reached 1,000 points despite some rocky turmoil. So congratulations to Mr. Puma over there as a Hornet. There is a feature about the Denham Springs soccer team. They've made waves the last couple of years, but always had trouble getting kind of over that hump. always had trouble getting that district title, always had trouble kind of getting past that second, third round in the playoffs. Well, this year, a lot of young talent, a lot of development has come together. They're 17-6, facing a good Catholic team, but one that's very beatable, who's 9-3-2. And a lot of these guys have trained hard. Chris Thorne has focused a lot on getting younger players just as ready as focusing on these older players. And this is a confident team coming into this match, looking to keep moving towards that district title. So they will play Catholic tonight on the pitch. Gumbo cook-off. This is probably the favorite part of the year. It comes right before Mardi Gras every year, and a lot of people love it. It's up there in Watson. This is the 10th annual. It's run by Miss Bobby Jo Guerin. It is at the park. 10 a.m. is the start time this Saturday, January 25th. So tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. It'll be in the Watson area. Delicious food every year. It's awesome. I'm very jealous because Mr. David James Gray gets to go every year. I only get to go every now and again if I don't have something else going on. So again, 10th annual Watson Gumbo Cook-Off is tomorrow, January 25th, 10 a.m. at Live Oak Park System. The school system named the Students of the Year. Read them off real quick. Miss Evelyn Ardietta, a 5th grader from Levi Milton Elementary. Mr. Reese Kennedy, an 8th grader from Denham Springs Junior High School, and Mr. Bryce Phelps, a 12th grader from Maurepas. So congratulations to those 3 students of the year. They will be recognized along with the teachers of the year and the principals of the year at a special ceremony later on in the spring where the schools come together before they get into that long slog of tests to introduce everyone and recognize all 9 of those winners. There are 3 principals of the year, 3 teachers of the year, and 3 students of the year. One last time with your traffic, airline intermittent backup starting at Airline on I-12 westbound all the way back to Juban. You're looking at 2 wrecks, one at O'Neill and one at Juban Road intersection. So it's going to be a bumpy and tough ride into Baton Rouge today on I-12 westbound. Please keep that in mind if you haven't left your house yet. Traffic starting to filter away from the larger schools, so that should be good. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central with some heavy delays if you take a left on Greenville Springs. Please remember it's 44 degrees. 64 degrees is your high, so we're going to get into those mid-60s. 37 your overnight low. This is looking like about what we're going to have in terms of temperature for the next few days, so please keep that in mind. Want to remind everybody it's a Real Life, Real Crime podcast. Guys are going to be sitting down with me about 10 a.m. this morning. We're going to record a podcast, report a codcast. We're going to record a podcast this later on this morning. Hopefully going to get that out for you just after lunch so you can check it out before you go watch their live broadcast at Southeastern at Livingston, which they've been doing several nights in a row. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. We appreciate you being here. If you watch this live, thanks for that. If you check it out later, we appreciate that as well. Please remember we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Once a week in print, we are online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We also have an app. Thanks again for joining us. Please tune in later for the podcast. We will not be live, but we are going to put it up online. Of course, you can check those out at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast, where you can also find these shows. We hope you have a great weekend. Hope you stay dry. We will be back in the booth to see you Monday morning.